What's going on, my YouTube brothers and sisters? It's your boy AKN back here again with another reaction video to Storytime Animated. I haven't done one of these in quite a while, and as you know, I like my Storytime videos, especially when they're animated. Someone sent this to me in my DMs on my Instagram, which you guys should go follow. Also my Twitter, all in the description. Called I Wish I Never Googled My Family. Have you guys ever Googled yourself? Just like, I know it looks kind of like narcissistic and whatnot, but I've Googled myself before just to see if I can find something. And I found myself on Google Images. And it's kind of creepy. But yo, it's been a solid minute since I've done a Storytime animated video. So all their info is down in the description down below. Go like their videos, go subscribe to their channel. Also hit the like button on my video, subscribe to my channel. We're trying to get to 4,000 hours of watch time on my channel, and we're about a little bit over 3,800. We gotta do it all by the end of this month. So share this video with your friends, share this video with your family, all your homies, all my other videos too. I live stream as well, usually maybe twice a week. I don't really have a schedule yet, but follow me on my Twitter and I'll post whenever I'm about to live stream or if I'm recording a video. Again, I want to thank every single one of you that watch my videos, especially those few loyal fans that DM me every now and then saying that you guys love my videos. Honestly, waking up to seeing those messages warms up my heart. I feel so good seeing that, and I'm just smiling the rest of the day. So thanks again. I couldn't do this without you guys, and let's just jump into this right now. I wish I never Googled my family, Leo. Let's just start this.
I had an ordinary life with an ordinary family and ordinary goals. But all that changed after I Googled my family. I wish I never did it. But let me start from the beginning. The very beginning.
Ooh.
I was born on the 2nd of November. I grew up with my parents in a small town with a really small population. I had no siblings, no grandparents, no aunts or uncles, but I didn't care.
Small towns freak me out. Sorry to pause it. If you guys can hear my bird too. I don't know if you guys could hear that. She's going crazy right now. I apologize. I just can't seem to get her to be quiet sometimes.
I had my parents, and that was all that mattered. My parents never really told me about my ancestors. I knew I was a mixed Italian-American, but that was the full extent of my knowledge. Other than that, I had no clue who my grandparents and other relatives were. But I guess it never bothered me growing up. I didn't really think about it. My parents never mentioned them, so I guess I didn't think about them either.
So wait, is he gonna find out that his family is like ex-mafia or something?
But it wasn't until 6th grade, when my other friends at school would talk about going to their grandparents' house on the weekends, and the amount of presents they got on their birthday because of their relatives.
Yo, I wish.
I admit, I was jealous. Was I missing out?
I would too.
Why didn't I have any grandparents or relatives?
Oof.
How come my parents never spoke about them?
That's sad.
I decided I would ask my parents about them. Why couldn't we be like a normal family? Why couldn't I have loads of relatives to bring me gifts?
This dude looks like a me from like Nintendo Wii, like all the characters you can make. Doesn't he look like a me character?
That night, I walked right up to my parents. Where are my grandparents? I asked.
Oof.
They looked at each other confused. What? Said my mom.
I mean,
How
it's a
come I
normal
don't have any
question.
grandparents? Everyone else at school does. Oh, began my dad. Well, he seemed to hesitate, but then he continued.
They did.
They passed away, Franco. I paused.
Called it.
But what about my aunts and uncles? What about my cousins? My mom spoke up. Well, your father and I don't have any brothers or sisters, so that's why you don't have any aunts or uncles. I'm sorry, Franco.
Yeah.
I was disappointed,
You just
but
got no
I believed
family.
them. It was a shame I didn't have any more relatives,
They're
but
lying.
it didn't bother me too much. So for several years after that, I ignored it, and I never brought it up with my parents again. Until, that is, when I saw that news article. But more on that later.
I want to know
Something
now.
strange about my childhood was the fact that we moved around a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot.
Confirmed criminals. I'm gonna call it right now. I'm gonna say that they're either ex-mafia or like they do money laundering, or their grandparents are serial killers, or they're serial killers themselves. One of those three. That's what I'm gonna say. Whatever you guys think, put it down in the comments.
We moved around yearly, sometimes even monthly, and I really struggled to make close friends.
That's sketch.
I just didn't have enough time to form a close enough bond with anyone. My parents always told me we moved around a lot because of their jobs, and I believed them. By the time I was 15, we had moved homes 50 times.
50.
I didn't realize this was strange until one of my friends asked me where I
Damn.
used to live before, and I told him I lived a lot of places. He asked me how many, and when I said 50, he freaked out.
I wouldn't have believed him.
What? He said in disbelief. What's wrong? I asked, oblivious. That's crazy, dude. Why?
So don't you move 50
you never
times?
even have time to live your life. You're too busy moving around.
True.
Why do you even have to move that often anyway? It's for my parents' work. What do they do?
Yeah, what do they do?
I paused. Come to think of
He
it,
doesn't
I
know.
had no idea what they did for work.
Uh-oh.
Was it something to do with accounting or marketing?
Or murder?
But if I was being completely honest, I was just guessing. In truth, I had no clue.
Uh-oh.
And actually, when I thought about it more, my friend was right. It was pretty weird how often we moved. That wasn't normal. And what kind of job did my parents have that forced them to move 50 times?
Yeah, they better
I
be paying
confronted
a
them
lot.
about it, but then seemingly out of nowhere, they started yelling at me,
Whoa.
telling me to mind my own business. What had I done wrong?
Red flags.
All I wanted was to know what their jobs were. Didn't I have the right to know why they had to uproot me from my life and force me to move every few months?
Yep.
Didn't I deserve to know at least? But they told me to go to my room and not bother them again.
No matter what it is, from my experience, even if it's your parents or whoever it is, never just blindly follow someone. Ask questions, and if it's not right or you don't feel comfortable or whatever, do your best to get out of that situation. I mean, it's kind of hard for him. He's like, what, 15 in this like part of the video, and I don't think you can really leave home at that age, but like ask questions though.
It was from that point on that I began to get suspicious. What were they hiding? Who did they really work for? Were my grandparents actually dead, or was it just a lie? For the next few months, those thoughts and concerns swarmed in my head. My trust for my parents started to waver,
I don't
and I
blame
started
you.
to question every time we moved from home. It just didn't make any sense. But then, everything changed when I went
When
on
the
to
Fire
Google.
Nation attacked.
I had a history
Sorry, couldn't
assignment
help
where
it.
I had to research on events surrounding the mafia in the US. I was online when I came across this article on this mob boss or something. He was part of the mafia, and he was now in jail for murder and countless other criminal charges.
Called it.
They showed a picture of him, and I nearly choked on my cup of coffee. He was the spitting image of my dad.
Called it.
I had to rub my eyes and look at it again. If the date hadn't read over 50 years ago, I would have believed it was my dad. But it looked exactly like
No,
him.
he was his grandfather.
Did my dad have an older twin? And worst thing was, this man was wanted for murder. Then it struck me.
Grandpa.
Was he my grandfather? I called my dad and showed him the picture. When he came into the room and glanced at my computer screen, he nearly tripped over from the initial surprise. But he soon covered up his mistake by acting dismissive, but it didn't go past me. I saw his father. I saw the break in his facade. I knew he recognized this man.
Oof.
Was it because it was his father? When I asked him who this was, he told me not to think about it. I was still suspicious.
Red
though.
flag.
I decided to research a lot about it. What I found blew my mind.
Here we go.
Another article showed this man had a son
Mob
who
boss's
had
son
gone
gone
missing
missing?
ever since his father was put into jail.
Actually, you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to say that because it probably isn't true.
This son had also worked in the mafia, and he had been notorious for being the father's legacy. But with him gone, the family business was thrown out of balance. They were searching for this son, and to this day, they were still searching for this son.
So is the dad the son? And he's running away from the mafia life and the business because he doesn't want to. That's why they keep moving all the time. That would make sense.
He would be in his 40s now. When they showed a picture from when this son was around my age, I literally felt my mind explode.
It's literally you.
It was me. It looked exactly.
Oh, it adds. We're back.
But that wasn't possible. I wasn't alive 40 years ago. But then, sudden realization hit me like a punch to the face.
Here we go.
It looked like me because this was my father. My father was the son of a mob boss. And that wasn't even the worst part. Apparently, my father had had a really dark past. He was wanted for fraud and scams and murder.
Ooh.
My father was a wanted man for murder. Now, this was too much for my mind to comprehend.
I should be a detective, yo. I got that.
Everything I knew about my parents was thrown out the window. I I started to Google my family name,
Romano
and a whole
family.
bunch of articles showed up about the Romano family and their criminal
You'd
past.
think he would change
How
his
they were
last
involved in
name.
some of the highest criminal schemes in history. I was part of that family. Generations of criminals lay in my bloodline. I was too shocked to search for any more
Sounds kinda
results.
cool.
This was too much. What does this mean? Was my dad a criminal? Was he wanted? If the cops found out about my dad, would he go to jail?
Yep.
I decided there was only one thing left to do. I had to speak to my parents.
Dad,
And I
you
wouldn't let
kill
them
people?
dismiss me like they usually did. I wanted the truth.
And then he's gonna skin you, and then he's gonna dump your body, and then you're gonna be the one on the side of a milk carton with missing.
And I wouldn't take anything else for an answer. That night at dinner, I
Here we
confronted
go.
them at the dinner table. I told them all about the mafia and the article I had seen, and Dad's picture.
See, Mom
How
got
he
mad
was wanted
though more
for
than the
murder.
dad.
My parents were shocked, but then their expressions hardened. They didn't answer me at first. They just looked at each other, and
Here
a
we
silent
go.
agreement seemed to pass through them. To this day, it still scares me about the fearless look on their faces. Come on, we'll explain it all to you, said Dad.
Here
I blinked
we
again.
go.
Wait, what? No, you're right, he said. It's time you knew the truth. They stood up from the table and walked into the hall.
Yeah, don't
I
go
was
with
still
them.
surprised by their
They won't
sudden
skin you.
leniency, but I followed them through. They headed to the attic. Was there something hidden up there?
Bodies.
Any clues? Newspapers from Dad's past? What could possibly be up there? They climbed the ladder and disappeared into the darkness. When I followed them, I couldn't see a thing.
Yeah, that's sketch.
Where are you?
Sketch,
I called
sketch,
out.
sketch, run away.
Then I heard the attic door slam shut. I jumped, rushing toward its hatch. I could hear my parents below talking quickly. Hey, let me out, I cried.
This is
It's for your own good, sweetie, called my mom. I shook the
Yo, don't
hatch
call
door,
me
trying
sweetie.
to rattle it off its hinges, but it didn't budge. My parents had locked me in the attic.
That's
I
so
was
messed
trapped.
up.
I couldn't believe it. How could they do this to me? I couldn't even trust my own parents. This had to mean it was true, right? Why else would they have locked me up in here?
Well, he's clearly older here, so I'm gonna assume he lived.
I started to worry about the things they may do to me. I knew too much. I could blow their cover. Would they leave me here forever? Would I ever have a normal life again?
Yo,
I
jump out
banged
the
on
window.
the door again. Should I call the
I
police?
mean, if there is a window.
A whole night passed. I had to sleep in the attic with mice crawling all through the roof.
He
Eventually,
stayed there
in the
the
morning,
whole
they
night.
came back up to me. They opened the attic door, and I didn't hesitate. I flew through, sprinting down the hall. They called at me to come back, but I wouldn't have it.
What do you
No,
mean, flew?
Frankel,
You're
let us
walking.
explain it to you, called Dad. His voice sounded so sincere. Reluctantly, I turned around. Fine, what is it? He looked at my mom and took a deep breath and explained everything. My father hadn't murdered anyone. He had been framed. A rival gang had pinpointed him for their attack.
Okay.
Since he had secured a deal that hadn't worked well for them.
I thought he was
My
pointing the gun
dad
at
was
his
innocent.
mom and dad.
He had
for a
been
second.
born into that mafia life, and he wanted a fresh start. That's when he met my mother. He decided to change his identity. I didn't know what to think.
Oh, wow.
So my
Plot
father
twist.
was innocent? He hadn't murdered anyone? I wasn't sure.
How do you believe
but then
that, though?
I looked into his eyes, and I believed him. I asked them why they had locked me in the attic. Why not just explain all this to me first? They said they needed to get all their stuff ready first. That's when I noticed the packed bags lying in the hallway. So we were moving again.
Again.
I sighed, but it felt easier once I knew why we were moving. From that point on, we decided to keep my father's past a secret.
That's
It was for
so
the best.
messed up.
We always feared what my father's father, the mob boss, my grandfather, might do. Would he betray my father?
So is he still
If
alive?
he got out of jail, would he come searching for him? But so far, nothing has happened. We still remain under fake identities.
Damn.
And of course, I'm not going to tell you our real names. All the names you heard in this video were all fake. Yeah, my name isn't really Franco Romano.
Aw.
So don't bother trying to find us.
Yo, this guy covered his tracks too. Damn, imagine your family is linked with the mafia. Like, how crazy would that be? Oh my gosh. Dude just picked the most Italian sounding name and he's just like, yeah, that's not actually our name, so don't even bother Googling it. Smart, smart, smart. So the next and final video we're going to react to is called I Pretend to Be Deaf, I Know Everyone's Secrets. That is so damn sketchy, but that is actually extremely smart too. Yo, just imagine someone just playing to be deaf just so they can eavesdrop on people and gather their secrets and like maybe blackmail them. That is so shady. It's shady beyond belief. But it's 2020 and I would definitely see someone doing that. So first I read an article about this lady who wanted to be blind, so she poured bleach in her eyes or whatever so she could live out her life as a blind person. Just like, what? But anyways, let's just start this. Alright, let's see this monster.
Growing up, I had no problems with hearing. I could hear crystal clear. If anything, my hearing was better than most people. But then, when I was 6 years old, my hearing started to deteriorate.
What?
I had this rare disease that impacted my hearing abilities.
Oh, I hate those things.
It got to the point where I couldn't
They feel
hear
so weird.
anything. I was deaf.
Oh, damn.
I was so distraught. I was depressed that I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't listen to music. I couldn't listen to the birds. I couldn't listen to the TV. My life was ruined. And it was even worse at school.
That was scary.
All the other kids made fun of me because I had to use sign language to communicate
Aw,
or
man.
write on pieces of paper.
Yo, kids are so mean. Let's all be real. Kids are the meanest people on the planet. They're also the nicest and they're also the meanest. It's just like it's an extreme on both ends, you know what I mean?
They would make faces at me. They would tease the way I used my hands. It was horrible.
Oh
And
my
it was so
gosh.
hard adjusting. It's easier for people who were born deaf. They don't know any different. But I knew what it was like to hear. I knew what I was missing out on.
Oh, that's
you
so
can't miss
depressing.
what you never had. But I could. School was especially hard. I could read and write, but whenever the teacher spoke or taught
Yeah, you
class,
can't hear
I
that.
found it so difficult to follow along. I had been in lip reading classes, so I could make out some words, but I was still learning. Sure,
Oh,
I was
man.
only around 10 years old, so it wasn't so crucial
So
that
then
I'd
how'd
be
you
able to
learn?
understand everything completely, but I still wanted to learn. I didn't want to be left out. Eventually, I got used to it. I could use sign language fluently, and I was an expert at reading lips. My classmates started to
Yeah, that's
stop
good.
bullying me. Instead,
Hey.
I turned into one of the popular girls.
Hey.
They thought it was so cool that I could
Oh
do
god, an
sign
ad's
language.
coming. No!
I was just happy to have friends again. Things were going well. I had accepted being deaf, and I could move on
5
with my
years.
life. But then, miraculously, when I was around 15 years old,
Her
my
hearing
hearing
came back.
started to come back. I have no idea how, but all of a sudden,
That'd be
I could hear people
terrifying.
talking around me. I could hear the cars driving past, the birds chirping in the trees,
Yeah, she-
all of it.
yeah, now she's
I was
Daredevil.
ecstatic.
She could
I
just,
was in
like,
class
super
when I
hearing.
heard the first sounds, and I jumped in my seat. A few people looked at me weirdly, but they hadn't realized what I had. My hearing was back. But after class ended, they still spoke to me as if I was deaf. I was going to say something. I was. But then, I heard a friend of mine saying my name.
Oh no. I hope they weren't like talking like smack behind her back. I mean, not really behind her back. They're right in front of her, but she just couldn't hear, right? I hope now that she can hear, but they don't know, that low key, like maybe they were just talking bad stuff behind her back. Oh my god, that'd be so bad.
I walked over and realized she was talking about me behind my back. She was saying I was so annoying and she didn't really like me, that I was a brat. I was so hurt.
Yo,
I
called
ran
it.
away and I didn't know what to do.
I swear to god, I never watched this before. Like, I just happened to call it like right then and there.
Couldn't believe it. Was this what happened all the time? Did people talk about me a lot when I was right next to them? I was mortified. How could they do
yeah,
that
that's
to me?
mean.
That's when I realized. No one had to know just yet. No one had to know I wasn't deaf anymore. That I could hear. Maybe I could use this
Okay.
to my advantage.
I get it.
Maybe I could use this to see who was talking about me. Maybe I could find out some secrets along the way. I know. This
not
was
right.
a terrible idea. But at
But
the
smart.
time, I thought I was so smart. And I did find out a lot.
It is
You may
smart.
think I should be ashamed, but you have no idea about the dirty secrets I heard from my time being deaf. But more on that later. I started to fake my deafness. I tried to keep it hidden. When there was a loud sound, I had to stop myself from looking in its direction. If I
Yo,
was
that's-
deaf,
she's
I never would
smart.
have realized. When the teacher said my name and I wasn't looking at him, I had to prevent myself from looking around. I had to wait for someone to tap me on the shoulder to get my attention.
That's
as
so
if I
funny.
really were deaf. And trust me,
They'd be like calling her name and she's just like you know, just looking out, someone has to be like, oh yeah, you talking to me? Oh, I couldn't do that. I would have failed on the first day. I would have been like, they would have been like, yo John, huh? I'd be like, wait, you deaf? You're supposed to be deaf. Anyways,
You imagine, when someone calls your name, your first reaction is to look, right? But I had to ingrain it into me to pretend I was deaf. And it took a while. But I got used to it.
That's
One
tough,
day, I was at
man.
my locker, and this cute boy was standing there with a bunch of his friends.
Oh.
At first, when they saw me, they were apprehensive. But I was facing the other way, so they relaxed. As long as I couldn't see their mouths, I wouldn't be able to hear what they were saying.
Oh.
Or so they thought. I realized they were talking about me. That's when I heard one of the
Why
cute
is everyone
boys,
talking about
Sam, say that he had a crush on me. I was so excited and nervous. I tried not to react, but I could already feel butterflies rise up in my stomach. I was so happy then that I had pretended to be deaf.
Cute.
If I hadn't, I never would have realized I had an admirer. I immediately walked over to him, looking at him meaningfully. He seemed to panic a bit, probably because he thought I heard him, but then he seemed to remember I was deaf. Well, little did he know, I heard
Yo,
every
she can
word.
hear.
Eventually, we started dating. I was pretty obvious with Sam, since I knew he definitely liked me, so it wasn't long before I asked him out. He was really cute.
Oh, she
and
asked
I found
him
it
out.
so funny how nervous he was around me. But there was this girl, Hannah,
Uh-oh.
who always flirted with my boyfriend. I was so mad at her. I wanted to
Wait. They're dating after one date? Like they're official?
scream at her when she said inappropriate things to him. But I realized that would give away that I could
Yeah, that
actually
would.
hear. So I bit my tongue. But she could be so aggravating.
Oh, no.
Like, there was this one time in class when I was packing my books in my bag and Sam was waiting for me. Hannah walked up to him. They were both behind me, so she probably didn't think I could hear. And she told him that she liked his haircut. She said he looked handsome. I barely stopped
Yo,
myself
her
from
face looks
turning around
creepy.
and
Not
slapping
her.
in the face.
The other one.
But I had to use this to my advantage. I was pretending to be deaf for a reason, to see who was a true friend and who was fake. So I remained quiet. I would be at parties and I would be sitting there and people would be gossiping beside me, but they didn't care since I was the deaf girl. I would hear so many secrets, like how a girl in my class was pregnant, or
Ooh,
how
that
someone
sucks.
cheated on their partner, or how
no.
the teacher was getting a divorce, and
Ouch.
so much more. No one knew it, but I was compiling a huge list of people
Yo,
I could
that's literally everything that's happened to my classmates in high school. Like literally everything.
blackmail with all this information. I realized I could start to use this for my own advantage.
Shady.
I found out that Hannah had a huge wart on her back. She would be so embarrassed
Ew.
if people found out about it. So I walked up to her at school with a note
Give her a note
already in
saying,
hand. I gave it to
"I know
her.
what's on
This
your
is what
back."
I wrote. Hi, Hannah. I know about the wart on your back. If you want this secret to stay between you and me, then stay away from Sam. He's my boyfriend, not yours.
Oof.
She had looked up at me, her face already flushing red, and she had nodded. Fine, she hissed at me. I walked away, job done. I knew I didn't have to worry about Hannah being around Sam ever again. In those few years in high school, I became the notorious blackmailer of the school. If someone got in my bad books, they would surely regret it, because I had dirt on everyone, even Sam. I discovered his dad was in jail for some fraud activity, but I didn't bring it up with him. I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
that
that's mean,
Now,
yeah.
I'm not proud of it, but back then, I was a spoiled, tormented young teen. I liked to control people. You might be wondering how I managed
this
to
is-
fake my
this
deafness
is a
all
monster.
that time. Well, it didn't last forever. I made one mistake that made everything fall apart. I was at a party,
Oh,
and
no.
Hannah was talking about me and my boyfriend. I was supposed to be deaf, so when I stepped backwards to hear a bit more clearly, they didn't seem to care.
This would
What
be
I
bad.
heard her say made me lose it. She talked about how Sam cheated on me with her. I couldn't help it. I turned around, screamed at her, spoke clearly, unlike a deaf person,
Oh,
and
no.
obviously gave away the fact that I could hear.
No, you had one job. Oh my god. Okay, well, clearly everyone's. Yo, look at their faces.
Everyone was shocked. The music stopped playing. Hey, I thought you were deaf, someone yelled out. Sam walked over to me. Wow, you can hear again? I didn't know what to say. I had exposed myself. Everyone would know I was faking it. Hannah narrowed her gaze. Then I watched, helpless, as she suddenly realized what I had done. No, you faked it, didn't you?
Oh, no.
She said. I shrank back. Sam looked questioningly at me. What? That's not true.
I must have been like, yo,
What?
I just got my
said
hearing back
nothing.
like yesterday.
It was over. The game was up. What? That's crazy, a voice called. Jerk, someone else yelled. I scowled, turning on Sam. You cheated on me with Hannah? Sam's eyes widened. What? How did you... Ha! So that's why you revealed yourself. Hannah laughed. You heard me. Well, it's true. Sam and I kissed. Sam looked at her in shock. Hannah! Oh, who cares? She snapped. Your girlfriend already knows. I didn't know what to do. Sam had cheated on me, but everyone
Fam, I don't even know what to say. Again, that's one of my pet peeves. People who cheat. Like, don't cheat. Like, for God's sakes. If you really want to do that, why don't you just break up with the person and then go do whatever the hell you want to do? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, damn, that sucks.
Everyone knew I had cheated them. Whose side would they take? Hannah looked at me viciously. Now I know.
Yo, push her
That's how
down
you
the stairs.
blackmail people. You heard everything, didn't you? You sneak. People started to whisper as they realized what I had done. Some looked worried as they searched back on all the things they had said in my presence. I saw now they would not be taking my side. I had lied to all of them. I had done something unforgivable. I didn't know what to do.
You done screwed up.
I bolted from the house. I went straight home, but I knew I could never go back to school. The next day, I told my parents I had to change schools. I couldn't go there anymore. My parents were so confused. You see, they still thought I was deaf too. I confessed to them all about it, how I had tricked people, how I had faked my deafness for the past year, and they were mortified.
Oh, damn, it's been a
They
year.
couldn't believe I would do something like that. But eventually, they helped me out. Of course they did. They still loved me. We agreed I should move schools, get a fresh start, but the kids at the new school I moved to had heard about me. I was that deaf girl who faked her deafness. The news had spread around. Luckily for me, I only had 1 year left at high school, so I could escape it all at college. But that senior year was the worst year of my life.
It was better
Even
there
worse
than the
when
other school.
I found out I was deaf, really deaf, when I was around 10 years old. People avoided me. They left mean notes in my locker. They called me names. But this time, I couldn't pretend to be deaf. I couldn't pretend I didn't hear what they said.
Man.
And that's why they took great satisfaction in making my life so miserable. I had no friends. Literally none.
Damn.
Even
I would have
teachers
been her
heard
friend.
about what I had done at my previous school. And I
Whoa.
could tell they looked at me with contempt. I don't know whether it was
Thought
my
the
own
teachers were gonna start
stupidity or
roasting her,
just
too.
their bias, but I never got an A in that final year of high school. Now, I realize what a huge mistake I had made. I never should have manipulated people like that. I turned something amazing, the miraculous return of my hearing, into something of a weapon. I
Yeah,
never
clearly.
should have done it. Well, I've learned my lesson now.
Damn. Moral of the story, you guys, don't lie. Because it's always going to catch up to you. Wow. We watched a story about a kid whose family is low-key in the mafia, and one where a girl fakes a disability. Just... yeah. Again, shout out to Storytime Animated. Go subscribe to their channel. Amazing content, awesome stories, and you can submit your own stories to them, and maybe they'll animate it just like that. Also, guys, thanks again for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff. I'm trying to start daily uploading in the month of August, because now that I'm back from work and I'm not on a work trip anymore, I have a lot more time. So I'm gonna try and do some daily uploads, or if I can't upload that day, then I'll probably live stream instead. But stay tuned. Follow me on my Instagram. Follow me on my Twitter. I post a lot there. You can DM me anytime you want for suggestions, or if you just want to talk, I'm right there. Again, let's trying to hit 4,000 view hours this month. We're at 3,800, or a little bit above it. So let's try to get 200 more by the end of August. But yeah, take care and peace.